Dollarization refers to the process where a country adopts the US dollar as its official currency, either fully or partially, which has significant implications for the global economy. The US dollar holds a prominent position as the world's primary reserve currency, accounting for a substantial share of global trade and finance. This status is underpinned by the dollar's stability, liquidity, and the size of the US economy, making it a preferred choice for international transactions and reserves held by central banks. As countries increasingly rely on the dollar, it reinforces the United States' economic influence and allows it to wield considerable power in global financial systems. However, this dominance is being challenged by emerging alliances among nations such as Russia, North Korea, and Vietnam, which are exploring alternatives to the dollar in their trade agreements. These countries are seeking to reduce their dependence on the US dollar, driven by geopolitical tensions and a desire for greater economic sovereignty. For instance, Russia has been actively promoting the use of its currency in trade with its partners, while North Korea has sought to establish economic ties that bypass the dollar. Vietnam, too, is looking to diversify its currency reserves and strengthen its economic relationships with non-Western nations. This shift could signal a gradual decline in the dollar's supremacy, raising questions about the future of global currencies. As we delve deeper into the potential future of the US dollar and the evolving landscape of global currencies, it is essential to consider the implications of these emerging alliances. The dynamics of international trade, investment, and economic power are shifting, and the outcomes of these changes could reshape the global financial order. Understanding these trends is crucial for anticipating how the role of the dollar may evolve in the coming years and what that means for the broader global economy. The existing global economic structure can be likened to a high-stakes poker game, where various nations and economic blocs play their cards to secure their interests and influence. In this metaphorical game, the players are constantly strategizing, bluffing, and negotiating, with each move having significant implications for the global economy. At the forefront of this game are two main teams, the G7 and BRICS. The G7, comprising the world's largest advanced economies, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United Kingdom, and the United States, represents a coalition of established powers that have historically shaped global economic policies. In contrast, BRICS, which includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, symbolizes a rising bloc of emerging economies that are increasingly asserting their influence on the global stage. This rivalry between the G7 and BRICS reflects broader shifts in economic power dynamics, as emerging markets seek to challenge the dominance of traditional powers. A critical element of this global economic structure is the petrodollar system, which has played a pivotal role since the 1970s. This system emerged when oil-exporting countries agreed to price their oil in US dollars, creating a consistent demand for the currency and reinforcing its status as the world's primary reserve currency. The historical significance of the petrodollar system cannot be overstated, as it has allowed the United States to maintain a unique position in global finance, enabling it to run trade deficits while still attracting foreign investment. However, as countries like China and Russia explore alternatives to the dollar for oil transactions, the future of the petrodollar system is increasingly uncertain. This evolving landscape highlights the complexities of the global economic game, where alliances shift, strategies evolve, and the stakes continue to rise, ultimately shaping the future of international trade and finance. Sanctions have become a prominent tool in international relations, significantly influencing global economic relationships. Countries like Russia, Iran, and North Korea have faced various sanctions aimed at curbing their activities deemed threatening to global security. For instance, following its annexation of Crimea in 2014, Russia was subjected to a series of economic sanctions from the United States and the European Union, targeting key sectors such as finance, energy, and defense. Similarly, Iran has faced extensive sanctions due to its nuclear program, which have severely restricted its ability to engage in international trade. North Korea, too, has been isolated through sanctions in response to its nuclear weapons development, limiting its economic interactions and access to essential goods. The consequences of these sanctions are profound, often leading to significant disruptions in international trade and strained diplomatic relations. Countries under sanctions may experience economic downturns, reduced foreign investment, and limited access to global markets, which can exacerbate domestic challenges and lead to humanitarian crises. Moreover, sanctions can create a ripple effect, impacting not only the targeted nations but also their trading partners and global supply chains. In response to these pressures, countries facing sanctions often seek to adapt by forming new alliances. For example, Russia has strengthened its ties with China and other non-Western nations, creating alternative trade routes and economic partnerships that bypass traditional Western markets. Similarly, Iran has sought closer relations with countries like Russia and Turkey to mitigate the impact of sanctions, fostering a network of support that challenges the existing global order. North Korea has also turned to China for economic assistance, highlighting how sanctions can inadvertently push countries together in solidarity against perceived external threats. This dynamic illustrates how sanctions can reshape global economic relationships, leading to the emergence of new alliances and altering the balance of power in international diplomacy. As nations navigate the complexities of sanctions, the landscape of global trade continues to evolve, reflecting the intricate interplay between economic measures and geopolitical strategies. Dollarization refers to the process by which a country adopts the US dollar as its official currency, or uses it alongside its domestic currency for transactions. This concept is distinct from the idea of the end of the US dollar as a global reserve currency. Rather, dollarization signifies a reliance on the dollar within specific economies, often as a means to stabilize their financial systems. Countries may pursue dollarization to combat hyperinflation, enhance economic stability, or attract foreign investment, but it does not imply a decline in the dollar's overall global dominance. Recently, there has been a noticeable trend among various nations to reduce their dependence on the US dollar, driven by geopolitical tensions and a desire for greater economic sovereignty. Countries such as Russia and Iran have actively sought alternatives to the dollar in their trade agreements, motivated by sanctions and the need to protect their economies from external pressures. This shift reflects a growing sentiment that reliance on the dollar can expose nations to vulnerabilities, prompting them to explore other currencies for international transactions. Recent developments in global currency dynamics have further highlighted this trend. China, in particular, has taken significant steps to promote the use of its currency, the yuan, in global trade. Initiatives such as the Belt and Road Initiative and the establishment of currency swap agreements with various countries aim to enhance the yuan's international standing. Additionally, China's push for the yuan to be included in the International Monetary Fund's special drawing rights basket underscores its ambition to challenge the dollar's supremacy. These actions indicate a broader movement towards a multipolar currency system, where multiple currencies coexist in international trade, potentially diminishing the dollar's dominance over time. As countries navigate these changes, the implications of de-dollarization and the evolving landscape of global currencies will continue to shape economic relationships and influence international finance. The recent partnership between Russia and North Korea is rooted in a complex historical context that dates back to the Cold War era. During this time, the Soviet Union provided substantial support to North Korea, both economically and militarily, fostering a relationship that has persisted despite the dissolution of the USSR. In the years following the Cold War, the relationship fluctuated, particularly as North Korea faced increasing isolation due to its nuclear ambitions and the imposition of international sanctions. However, recent geopolitical developments have reignited collaboration between the two nations, driven by strategic motivations. Both Russia and North Korea find themselves increasingly at odds with Western powers, particularly the United States and its allies. For Russia, strengthening ties with North Korea serves to counterbalance US influence in the Asia-Pacific region and assert its role as a key player in global geopolitics. For North Korea, aligning with Russia offers a potential lifeline amid ongoing sanctions and economic challenges, providing access to resources and diplomatic support. The partnership has significant economic implications, as it opens avenues for trade and investment that could alleviate some of North Korea's economic hardships. Reports suggest that Russia may provide food and energy supplies to North Korea, while North Korea could offer labor and raw materials in return. This exchange could help both nations bolster their economies while circumventing Western sanctions. Militarily, the alliance could enhance North Korea's capabilities through potential Russian military technology transfers and training, further complicating the security landscape in Northeast Asia. Additionally, joint military exercises or cooperation could serve as a deterrent against perceived threats from the US and its allies. Overall, the partnership between Russia and North Korea reflects a strategic alignment that seeks to challenge the existing global order, with profound implications for regional stability and international relations. As these two nations deepen their ties, the dynamics of power in the region may shift, prompting a re-evaluation of alliances and security strategies among neighboring countries. De-dollarization can have significant effects on the US economy and its citizens, particularly as more countries adopt alternatives as their primary currency. One potential consequence is a decline in foreign investment in the United States. As nations increasingly rely on the alternative currencies for their own economic stability, they may choose to invest domestically rather than funneling capital into the US market. This shift could lead to reduced foreign direct investment, which has historically been a crucial driver of economic growth and job creation in the US. A decrease in foreign investment may hinder innovation and infrastructure development, ultimately impacting the overall economic landscape. Additionally, de-dollarization can have implications for inflation and economic growth within the US. If the dollar's status as the world's reserve currency diminishes, it could lead to a decrease in demand for US debt, resulting in higher interest rates. This scenario could stifle economic growth, as borrowing costs rise for consumers and businesses alike. Furthermore, a weakened dollar may lead to inflationary pressures, as the cost of imported goods rises, eroding purchasing power for American consumers. The risks associated with a weakened US dollar on the global stage are also noteworthy. A decline in the dollar's dominance could undermine the US's ability to influence global economic policies and reduce its leverage in international negotiations. Additionally, if countries begin to diversify their reserves away from the dollar, it could lead to increased volatility in currency markets, further destabilizing the US economy. The potential for a loss of confidence in the dollar could prompt a shift towards alternative currencies, diminishing the US's economic standing and complicating trade relationships. As the de-dollarization trends continue to evolve, the implications for the US economy and its citizens will be profound, necessitating careful consideration of the broader economic strategies and policies that may be required to navigate this changing landscape. In the US, there is a sense of stability and opportunity, with access to resources, education, and freedoms that many take for granted. However, this prosperity can sometimes lead to a disconnect from the struggles faced by those in other parts of the world. In contrast, life in Russia and Ukraine is often characterized by a complex interplay of cultural pride and economic challenges, where resilience is a way of life. The future landscape of global currencies is poised for significant transformation, with the possibility of multiple reserve currencies coexisting becoming increasingly plausible. Traditionally, the US dollar has dominated as the primary reserve currency, but emerging economic powers are challenging this status quo. As countries diversify their foreign exchange reserves, we may witness a shift towards a multipolar currency system, where several currencies, including the euro, yen, and potentially the Chinese yuan, play prominent roles in international trade and finance. The rise of the Chinese yuan as a competitor to the dollar is particularly noteworthy. China has been actively promoting the yuan in global markets, seeking to enhance its international standing through initiatives such as the Belt and Road Initiative and various currency swap agreements with other nations. The inclusion of the yuan in the International Monetary Fund's special drawing rights basket further solidifies its position as a viable alternative to the dollar. As China continues to expand its economic influence, the yuan's role in global trade could grow, potentially reshaping the dynamics of international finance. Additionally, the advent of central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, introduces another layer of complexity to the future of global currencies. Many countries are exploring or piloting their own digital currencies, which could revolutionize how transactions are conducted and how monetary policy is implemented. CBDCs may enhance the efficiency of cross-border payments, reduce transaction costs, and provide greater financial inclusion. However, they also raise questions about privacy, security, and the potential for increased government control over financial systems. The emergence of CBDCs could lead to a reconfiguration of the global currency landscape, as nations may seek to establish their digital currencies as alternatives to traditional reserve currencies. Overall, the interplay between multiple reserve currencies, the rise of the yuan, and the impact of CBDCs will shape the future of global finance, creating a more complex and interconnected economic environment. As these developments unfold, stakeholders will need to adapt to the evolving dynamics of currency usage and international trade. In this discussion, we explored the multifaceted concept of de-dollarization and its significant implications for the global economy. We began by defining dollarization, highlighting how countries adopt the US dollar to stabilize their economies, and differentiated this from the potential decline of the dollar's status as the world's primary reserve currency, as more countries now de-dollarize. We examined the trend of nations seeking to reduce their dependence on the dollar, driven by geopolitical tensions and a desire for economic sovereignty. The conversation also touched on recent developments in global currency dynamics, particularly China's efforts to promote the yuan as a viable alternative to the dollar. Furthermore, we delved into the historical context of Russia and North Korea's partnership, assessing how sanctions influence global economic relationships and the potential for new alliances to emerge. As we wrapped up, we reflected on how de-dollarization affects the US economy and its citizens, considering the implications for foreign investment, inflation, and the risks associated with a weakened dollar on the global stage. The future landscape of global currencies was also speculated upon, discussing the possibility of multiple reserve currencies coexisting, the rise of the yuan, and the impact of central bank digital currencies on the financial ecosystem. We encourage you to engage with this content by subscribing to our channel, liking this video, and sharing it with others who may find it insightful. Your support helps us continue to provide valuable discussions on important economic topics. Additionally, we invite you to explore related content on our channel to stay informed about the ever-evolving world of global economics. By staying engaged, you can deepen your understanding of these critical issues and their implications for the future. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your thoughts and discussions in the comments below.